Hello, welcome to the latest Goals Eye View. This is one we've been looking forward to make since the game. I'm joined by Dom.
Oh, mate, you're right.
Yeah, and Chris.
Evening, guys, okay?
Yeah, very good. Very good after Saturday's game. I suppose you could say it's one that will live in the memory for a very long time.
We're feeling rather chipper, aren't we?
Yeah, I did tell you pessimists, didn't I? I told you last week. You pessimists. Oh, no, well, we're going to lose. Don't have too much for us.
I nailed it, to be honest. A tight game, Notts County to win.
Well, 2-0 Notts County.
I was happy with 2-1. I said to my dad when Lemon made it 3-1, oh, I had 2-1. But no, overall, I dealt with it. You know,
we'll go through the game. I'll happily dissect this game from start to finish. So obviously they didn't have Cole coming back. That was the plan. That's what we thought. We didn't think he was going to be back.
He was there, wasn't he?
He was there, yeah, and he was victim of some. I won't go into it, but some chance. I don't think I've only played a football match, but some do. Some of them did, but some of them no. We went into the game, and well, for a minute we were at them. You know, they had that chance early when Winter blocked it. Was it a Winter block?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had one chance in the first few minutes where they sort of broke out and suddenly it was like the parting of the seas, wasn't it? And suddenly they had a chance. But apart from that, we were right on them, weren't we?
Yeah, and then...
But again, to continue I did tell you, theme, the key to a lot of these games recently has been we've started quickly, we've scored goals.
Yeah,
that's the third home game in a row where we've scored not once but twice pretty early on. And when you're doing that and putting kind of clear water between you, you know, the old 2-0 is a dangerous lead. Well, I prefer it to 1-0.
Yeah.
So and again, as soon as your 2 goals clear, it changes the whole game, doesn't it? Especially in the game.
What it showed to me, I mean, it was a Gary Johnson masterclass, wasn't it?
Yeah, the pressing was unbelievable.
He'd had 2 weeks to work with these players, and you could tell they were drilled, weren't they? As soon as Notts County got the ball in the area, push up.
If you
close the space down, they did that continually, didn't they?
I think he's stolen that analysis from Saturday's verdict, hasn't he? Pretty much. That word for word, you reading it?
But I mean, for me, but I think it showed when Ben Winter was going, he was halfway up into their half.
Was it the first or second goal? Yeah, you just saw that from me. I said that before we started recording this as well.
To be honest,
it kind of set the tone, didn't it?
It did. You're right.
Adventure. That's what I wanted to see, because against Bromley and Boreham, when we played them, we stayed back. It was quite conservative. Yeah. We really went for it.
Not as much confidence. Yeah.
I think as well. I mean, there's kind of pressing. I mean, there's no doubt they tried to play it out from the back, and we knew that. And there's they're stepping up to that. But the whole team stepped up to that.
Yeah.
If you think, Little was pretty much in the D from every goal kick they had, and they had nowhere to go. I mean, there were a couple of times early on where the keeper punted long balls over the top of Wern was a little bit high, and kind of that ball went over the top, and it happened early in the second half when Nemain had come on a couple of times as well. But in general, they just had, they want to bring.
They just wanted to go down the right hand side, didn't they? They didn't actually have any game plan. I was like, all this work and all this this modern day manager, and he just has no idea how to get past a veteran in Gary Johnson.
They couldn't.
No, they couldn't. No.
As Chris said, they wanted to play at their own tempo, didn't they, and get the balls into strikers and work off them. But we just didn't allow them to do that. And I think a key was Joe Lewis shackling Wootton up front, because he just had him in his pocket a lot of the game. I mean, he did score.
That goal was absolute class.
We could just leave him at the back, couldn't we? And the rest of us sort of push forward and could trust him to deal with the rest. So
I think.
Key,
I think if you look at the goals as well, like. One thing that hasn't, obviously, we all speak about Armani Little. I could write 1,000-word essay on how good Armani Little and Lemon Ivans were this game. Every Torquay fan was. But there's everyone, and Danny Wright especially. If you look at the goals again, like he assisted the second one, we know that.
3 of them.
That was it. The 4th goal.
Yes, well, he wins the header and then blocks off the defender. And
that's so clever.
Yeah,
that's so
clever. Sort of things you don't always notice when you watch the game.
No, you're right. Yeah.
And the 5th goal, where he's strong, wins the ball, turns the defender, and just that little jab pass through.
Yeah, I think he's involved in every goal. I think it's involved in every goal. It was phenomenal.
Absolutely, and then Little gallop through.
He picked out Connor, didn't he, when he whacked it across goal, and he set him up a beauty. Plus, he almost scored with a beautiful volley. I mean, he's looking sharper than he has done for a long time.
I think. He scored 11 goals now, as your stats will say, Dom. But it sums up when I was read one comment. Obviously, of course, I went straight onto Twitter after the game. A few hours later, well, it's not straight on, but went on afterwards, and I was reading all the reaction. Notts County, Notts County fans mainly just saying, "Well, fair play, they were better than us." But one of them commented, and he went, "Oh, is Lemon-I Evans a clinical striker we've needed?" First of all, they've got Carl Watson, but just the fact that he's not a out-and-out striker, he's been recognised as someone who's an actual finisher. I mean, let's talk through the goals quickly, right?
Yeah.
First goal. It's just intelligent play all around, switched by Wern. That little goal, I mean, as we've all said, no backlift on that shot to find it. Unbelievable. The second goal, Winter's come out with the defensive line. He's won it like in a midfielder's position.
Yeah, he won it about 30 yards from their goal, didn't he?
Yeah, Duke McKenna's played a blinding ball. Right, so intelligent. He's passed it into an area where Lemon-I Evans isn't at. But he knows that if Lemon-I Evans comes at the back post, that counted defender, their left back, Chickson, I think.
Has he passed or shanked a shot?
No, definitely passed.
I did wonder if that was I did wonder if that was an own goal at the time. I couldn't tell from that angle.
In that position, the only chance that Chickson's going to deal with it is by putting it in his own net, really. Unless he
couldn't do anything about it.
Such a good ball, and the aggression by Lemon-I Evans to get onto that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, their goal was class. This is a great finish. Nothing that can really be done. And there was a big moment in the game where obviously they brought the main on, and he was, let's be honest, beating Moxie for pace, and Wern was trying to steal with him. And Johnson, I called it, just saying, I said we need to bring Martin on. I mean, most of the fans can see that. And as soon as Martin came on, that just completely got rid of that. So that early sub by Johnson completely killed. I think they could have got back into it.
In fairness, Sam, Wern couldn't walk, but I mean,
but that was before that.
But it was a change of formation. Though it wasn't just the change because you could have brought Martin on and played them in the same position. It was a change of formation to go to a flat back four because it just shut the space.
Yeah,
you forget how fast Amani is as well, because he was getting the yard and he was running with it. And they
but Martin, I think, is even faster than him. That's unbelievable.
Well, Martin is a proper left back as well, and he knew how to deal with him. Whereas Wern was just treating him like a midfielder does.
And Wern was brilliant. And the big negative from this game is, as you said in the chat, Dom, is whether one was on crutches, was he, on Saturday?
I saw him in the goals nest after on crutches, so he didn't look too good.
That's always going to be a few weeks, isn't it? This is the issue now, isn't it? We're only 1 or 2 key injuries away from the season to spin out.
I can't imagine he'll be fit for the weekend, but you can get Dan Martin in, so it's not the end of the world. But
I have to say, I didn't think he looked fit. Full stop. Actually,
no, he's struggling.
Brilliant. He went down in the first half. He has. I've noticed before he did it at Halifax, where he has like massive holes ripped in his socks.
Yeah.
So whether he has, and that was the problem when he went down and the physio came on in the first half, he was kind of massaging both calves. Whether there's some circulatory issue or something, which means he kind of, whether it cramps or his legs cramp or something, I don't know.
But it's tough though. The way we were playing was high intensity, wasn't it? High press, and you've got
a very good observation, Chris. I think that's very good.
I think that was one of my worries. I think that was my only worry for Saturday. If we didn't score and get another goal early, that we'd run ourselves ragged and then they could take advantage. But we did get the second, and then the third was the clincher, I think.
I think that was key.
That was the best moment of the season for me, because when that got, I actually, as any football fan says, 2-0 is a very dangerous lead, and you think, here we go. But
we did sit back a bit second half, so I could see their sort of goal coming. And we all could at that point.
That was crucial. I mean, that goal is just unbelievable. Like, was it right? He won it back or play the ball, and then Little had no right to get the ball. He did, and the perfect weight on that ball by Little to get to Lemon-I Evans, who then feints the defender and doesn't just try and curl it. He just hits it. I ran. I've never ran so fast in my life. I ran from pop side, I went straight down. I don't know what came over me. I've never done that in my life. So he sprinted down pop side, and then to celebrate that goal, that was unbelievable.
It's pure vision from Arnie, wasn't it? He made it look easy, but that wasn't an easy pass to play. But
not at all.
Because him and O'Connor were just on the right pages all match. They just knew exactly where to be for each other. And the finish was sweet, wasn't it? Connor doesn't always hit him too hard, but he banged it in the corner, and that was game over, wasn't it?
And let's be honest, in that moment when he cut inside, there have been a couple of those that he's put over the stand in a couple of games, like the one at Altrincham, and he's had a couple of misses quite like that. I think what I liked about that was at 2-1, kind of with a couple of changes they'd made. I think everyone kind of thought, bloody hell, this is going to be hard work.
It might be a bit like Stockport, where it's 2-1. And we're sort of sitting back and holding on for half an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, what what naturally happens is you do sit back. You can try hard all you like, but you do naturally sit back. Actually, were able to get on the front foot. People were still getting forward, getting beyond the ball. And again, you look at that fourth goal. Lapsley's kind of come out of his bunker and kind of burst through, nicked the ball, stolen it, driven them forward. And then, of course, he then laid it back to Omani to play the ball. So I think mentality-wise, it was good because they just said, we're going to keep pressing, keep doing what we're doing. And then, of course,
always best. When Torquay sit back, we always concede.
We always concede.
Never best. You've got to try in the front foot and try and go forward, and they did. And Lapsley was key again to that. He kept on pushing, didn't he? He kept on winning the ball. He just wouldn't give him anything, would he? No. It was brilliant to watch.
Again, as I said about Lapsley before, again, from a lot of the games he's played, he either has an excellent game or he's terrible. And luckily, he had another of his fantastic games. He was on the front foot. He kicked, won everything, harassed, annoyed people.
He was giving them plenty of wind up, wasn't he? Especially Rodriguez.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he did get thumped in the face by Rodriguez when he was down. He was proper show. Was just down in front of me on the pop side. And he was properly shaken. In fairness, to start with, I thought, here we go. But no, he was properly shaken when it happened. I think he did get a bit of a whack around the side of the nose. But
there's plenty of those sort of
Rodriguez
things
played.
Going on, wasn't there?
I was looking up for Rodriguez. I didn't realise he played. Hey.
Yeah.
I know
it was like casualty, wasn't it? There was more injuries.
The ref was awful. It was equally awful. They should have had a pen. A lot of our yellows weren't yellows. Some of our fouls that weren't yellows were yellows. I mean,
I didn't think he was good, but I also didn't think he did anything that changed the game. So I didn't think their penalty. I think their penalty would have been soft.
He probably had a better.
He was looking for.
VAR, and that's a penalty. But in the proper leagues of national,
he didn't make any calls that changed the game. I didn't.
No,
I can put up with that.
Yeah, we won 5-1.
And as my dad pointed out, actually, at the game, a lot of his yellow cards were technical yellow cards, time wasting, not manoeuvring, and actually, nailing somebody, or nailing somebody off the ball, or whacking somebody, kind of almost went unnoticed, didn't it?
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I think the McDonald one was weird because you knew what McDonald was doing, but there was also a player down at the time, which is why he took the mick and go behind. McDonald
he was always going to get a book in McDonald when he was taking
like no warning. But I found
what annoyed me about that yellow card is the amount of times we've had games where goalkeepers just waste and get away with it, and the amount of times
they always get a yellow eventually, don't they?
Yeah, but if you book them early, book them with 20 minutes to go, and it stops, and that's what happened. But
probably right. Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. Actually, no, in overall, would actually prefer to see that. So yeah, fair enough. But
things are roundabouts with the ref, I think.
Yeah, it's how it's going to go, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, all those goals were just ridiculous, and it was one of the best days.
I think a key with Connor is getting him involved in the penalty area, because I don't think he's going to score from outside, but if he can get in the penalty area, get onto things, he will get you goals. And
quick feet was ridiculous for the hat-trick goal. That speed to move it in and out, not fall over. And still have the balance to stand up straight.
That's unbelievable. And the ball from Little and the dummy, as we said earlier, from right. Oh, it's unbelievable. And that fifth goal, Little to send the keeper. Ridiculous.
Yeah, the thing is, once you're in the penalty area, they can't touch you. If he tried that outside the penalty area like he did earlier, he can do it. But because you're in the penalty area, they stand off you.
And the confidence as well.
Can't touch him, and he's soon past him, and that was...
I'll say one thing about
anybody by then, Chris, were you?
I'll say one thing about Notts County, which is actually, because obviously it's funny and all that, but one thing I was actually a bit surprised was Harry Arter. Now obviously we know he's Premier League, he's come down here, and it is actually a bit, not from our point of view, but just sad in general, because also you think Harry Arter is going to take the game by storm. And I know he had a big personal thing a few years ago, and it was all the news, and there was a troll, but you wonder how much it affects him, because he just he looked a shadow of the player, and even like physically the person that he was. So
I didn't think the midfield suited him. I think in general they all looked a bit samey. I mean, if you put Lapsley with him, and
I know, I couldn't believe the difference. So I thought their midfield was going to give us a go, but Little and Lapsley just absolutely had them. So
if you'd have put Little and Lapsley with Arter, they'd have run it. I think he just didn't have any legs with him. I don't think they were too soft.
It did kind of smack a little bit of kind of like, what the bloody hell am I doing here? Didn't it? A little bit, didn't it? And kind of like, from where I've been before and what I've done before. But I thought Vincent, there were a lot of Torquay fans who were big fans of Vincent, and he worked hard when he was with us, but I was never hugely that bothered. He left, because he's not anything. He's not quick enough to be a winger. He's not physical enough to be a central midfielder in the way that, say, Lapsley is. And
he's a skillful player, isn't he? He wants time on the ball to pull.
But in the National League, you don't get it, do you? It's the thing, you don't get
unless
it.
you're higher up. No, unless you're like higher up the pitch, you don't. You need all of it, like Little now has. But yeah, we'll go on to the power rankings. So the three that you've seen now was Stephen Wine he's gone down to 10th. I think he was like 3rd last time, and that's nothing against him. He was just very good. But as I said, when the team's in this much form, you get just get in the top 10 is good.
He was good. I thought he was a bit overshadowed by the other wing back. I thought Chiori had a brilliant game down there.
I thought he was quite decent actually. Yeah, no,
maybe because he was on our side, Chiori, but he was working like a dog to
well, one was on my side.
Yeah, so. I had abuse from Dom for not giving him higher than 7. The problem with him is and I agree, he did have a good game. He had one of his better games in that he worked hard, and I think he understood his position in a way that say Wern didn't on the other side.
I mean, did he win the ball? At one point, he won the ball twice when he was on the floor. He was didn't he?
I mean, again, he's just and he seems just kind of very limited, doesn't he? But in what he was able to do on Saturday, it was perfect.
Well, if you remember, he put him in away at Yeovil, didn't he? When we needed a sort of like battling performance, and he put him in then.
He's a good battler.
Joe Felix in midfield.
He's a good battler, but his inconsistent passing is frustrating because he looks like a really good technical player, but some of his decision making still isn't it. I think that got highlighted. I think he's probably fine passing on the training pitch, but it's when you have to do it on the football field, you get a bit panicky, don't you? Yeah.
How was Chori got such a big chat here? Is he in the top 10 or not?
No.
He's on the periphery, Chris.
He's just outside
11.
So, and then 9th is Danny Wright, which is ridiculously low.
I've got a rant ready for this. That's
his number, isn't
it? I'm not happy. I'm not happy. How long have I got to rant about this?
Not that long, actually, because we spoke a lot.
Involved in 4 of the goals. Sharpest he's been probably for a long time.
Very selfless.
Game, didn't he?
Best form he's probably been in Torquay, I would say.
Yeah.
But that shows the strength of the squad. You know, it's the public decides. In 8th.
Any of the other strikers have played on Saturday, we wouldn't have won by more than 1 goal if we were lucky.
I'm assuming now that McDonald's not in the top 10 if Danny Wright is considerably lower than him. So McDonald mustn't be in the top 10.
It's like he's a keeper.
Oh, don't spoil it, Chris.
Well, I'm just guessing. I don't know.
Jeez.
In 8th place, Moxie. I don't know, it's a bit harsh on him. But
he was good again on Saturday, wasn't he? There were a couple of moments again when you watch the highlights back in very subtle moments. There was one block in the second half from a corner, and there were a couple of times when they kind of played diagonal balls over the top of him, and he kind of, without almost looking, stuck his left foot out, killed it dead, and was then able to get it up the pitch. Just things like that. Just a couple of bits of quality.
Watching the highlights reminded me there was a few good blocks in there from really good defensive stuff. It wasn't all about
Winter all did absolutely brilliant blocks at crucial times. Which is why McDonald, again, apart from a couple fantastic cross claims, didn't really have anything to do. Again, he hasn't had much to do recently, which is a good thing. In 7th place, we've got Lewis, so again, we're solid. 6th, we've got Winter. We can both say the same thing, both absolute rock solid, especially Winter at the weekends.
I just love to see the aggression from Ben. He doesn't always play with that sort of...
No, but that press to win on the second
kind of battle. He's quite a cool customer, Ben, but he's really getting stuck in, wasn't he, at the weekend?
Yeah. And what I liked about Lewis as well is if you look at the Wrexham game, the way basically, whether it's Johnson or whether it's the way they set up, is that they basically, because he just fought Palmer. And again, on Saturday, he just fought Wootton the whole time. Because whether they just said, right, do not let him go. So there were a couple of times when the ball kind of went out wide. And kind of, as they're trying to get in the middle for the cross, he's kind of fighting him off the ball. So almost as if he's saying, you do not give him an inch physically.
Wootton is a good striker. I mean, he's a good, solid striker. If you give him too much space, then he'll kill you because he'll sort something out. He'll get on the end or something. Yeah. So
they all 3 were great.
Yeah.
And then in 5th place, got Tom Lapsley, the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Good. Yeah, he's been good the last few games.
Very energetic. He was just everywhere.
And he carried the ball so well as well. His face plant after that shot.
He also didn't give it away much. He picked out some good passes.
I love him. I absolutely love him. And then 4th place, Jake McKenna's come down a little bit. Nothing against his performance really. He just hasn't had the goals and assists of not spoiling it.
He didn't actually get involved much around the penalty.
No, it didn't go. It went down the left-hand side more, and
didn't seem to go his way much.
And I think that's just because of the sheer dominance of Little and Emily Evans, really.
Yeah,
you know, it wasn't that Jim McCann didn't do a thing wrong, and he put an absolute peach of a ball in on his weak foot for Wright, who couldn't quite get on the end of it. I think it was
a good cross, wasn't it? He just
played
the ball for Wright's one, and that was him coming in more central actually. He played the ball for Wright's like assist to Levin Ivans for the second goal. Third place is Sean McDonald.
Oh, come on.
He hasn't had to do much for the last few days.
Again, as I made the point in the article at the weekend, he didn't have a lot to do. But again, there were a couple of moments where he had to come for crosses. And his handling is just on a different level.
I think there was one cross second half
when he came full stretch, wasn't it? Yeah.
Came full stretch, and if he drops
a demonstration of full stretch,
they'd probably tap it in, don't they?
Yeah.
It's those sort of moments.
Yeah.
So if you've got a dodgy keeper, you suddenly give him a soft goal, and it's game on, isn't it? But he had a solid game, definitely.
And then second place. So we've got the second and first, which you can now see on your screen, and this could have gone either or. But just think, who have you two, or who did you two choose for second and first?
I mean, again,
this is in the last 3 games, isn't it? It's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, Little was that good on Saturday. I mean, he has been in the last few games, but I thought in the overall, what I like about these 3 games is that he is now able to kind of control the tempo of the game from midfield, the way he's getting forward, the way he's able to support defensively.
I didn't have McDonald's hand in there, Dom.
Yeah.
I know.
So I would go Little 1, Levin Havens 2, personally, purely because of what he brings to the game and the way he kind of sets the tempo for the team. But if someone scores a hat, again, I would have had probably on balance Little as man of the match on Saturday.
And that's what they have done.
When someone scores a hat trick.
That's what they have done. You're right. That's what they have done. So this was first and I second, both unbelievable. And I'll be crying a lot if they both leave this season. I mean, they'll leave at some point anyway, but that photo...
I think I'd have had Little first in the power
just edged it. Just how he just ran the game, as Chris said, for 3 games. And
I think as well with Little as well, there's a part of me, the selfish part of me, which is fundamentally the most important part as a Torquay fan, which says, God, I want him to stay. But the reality is he should be playing in the Football League. The standard of the football. The standard of the Football League, you'd have thought he would walk into an awful lot of League One sides. The way, technically, he's that technically good. And of course, league football is.
I think he'd have a lot to prove in the league.
Oh, sure.
Strength-wise, I think he'd have a lot.
He's got better though.
He's not the biggest, but he has improved, and his confidence is all there. So it's just somehow going to the right club.
Well. Yeah.
If he went to the wrong club in the league, he could easily end up as a substitute, and he'd waste his time.
And again, it's the classic one, isn't it? It's him at the moment. Him and Levin Havens are big fishes in a relatively small pond, aren't they? So is that enough? Are they happy with that? And is that hopefully they're still taking losses personally?
Boss in the game and getting the balls played to them, aren't they? But better teams, they might be.
And they're the first names on the team sheet, aren't they? You go to a League Two club or League One club, whatever, you're not going to be necessarily playing, as Dom said there. So actually, he's playing the most important thing. Money comes into it, location maybe.
Yeah. And I think in the Football League, he definitely do a similar path like Scott Twine. I'm not comparing the 2 players, but he's amazing League Two, and he's now up in League One, just absolutely smashing it.
Technically very similar players.
Yeah.
I think the main thing is for me is if we're still National League, I don't want them going to any other club in this league. I don't want any of them turning up for Notts County next season.
I can't.
As Andy Charles said earlier this week.
I think geographically, Cameron and Whitfield were a bit different in that sense, weren't they? But I don't.
McDonald's my only worry geographically, but enough money will move anyone anywhere.
Really.
So
absolutely.
Obviously, 2 fantastic players. I mean, we've been doing this for a little while now, and we've never had a fight to first and second like that.
Thanks to so many more people who's voted this week, and as Dom said, there's so many people that have voted for those 2. Just absolutely outstanding, and the credit to the club, and enjoy it while it lasts. A lot of the players in this team, especially those 2, the way they played.
And something that struck me on Saturday as well. Clearly, this is a miserable thing to say, but was just how different last season could have been if Little was fit more.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
think how good we were last season, and he barely played before February.
And I agree.
It's always some butts, though, isn't it?
Always, but his fitness was such a problem. And that's what's been so good about the season. You just felt so sorry for him. Every time he came back, there was a setback and he missed 2 or 3 weeks, and then he'd come back and he'd feel his hamstring again. And he's just like, oh, but this season, he's just, I mean, you think how fit he looks now, both kind of physically and kind of stamina-wise. He's been.
I think one of the greatest things we've got at the moment, is cohesion. If you look at who's played,
I agree.
Same team.
I would argue, it's going to sound crazy, right? We need the depth of last season. Well, we had a lot more depth, to be honest. I would argue this 11 right now, the crop of 11, 12, 13 players is as strong, if not stronger, than last season.
Yeah.
Which is what Gary Johnson was hoping to do, wasn't he? Because the first
this is what he wanted from the start of the season.
25 games, 20 games a season, he was shuffling like a pack of cards.
And don't get me wrong, if we have a couple of injuries, we're a lot more screwed than we were last season. That's the big difference why, but I think the McDonald's has been much better keeping us last season and more consistent than Coghlan. Coghlan was only brilliant for the last 2 or 3 months, as I always say. And it doesn't always work.
No, I agree.
He's now Port Vale's third choice. As far as
don't forget the goal he scored in the playoff final as well.
Exactly, I mean, the playoff final was probably the greatest goalkeeping display a Torquay player's ever done. But I'm talking like the length of the season, But
you think about this run, we've only got one
Yeovil.
Striker. I mean, that's the crazy thing.
That's the problem.
I mean, I'll go first on this because clearly this. I feel this needs saying at this moment that if I'm voting for player of the season today, it's Little.
Same.
I mean, Lewis has been outstanding. McDonald's brought a lot to us. But I mean, in terms, was it 13 goals, 14 assists?
Yeah,
it's a fight between those
midfield.
Yeah,
I think he's never played that far forward.
For me, I think it's just when the season was really glum and you didn't really enjoy going to Torquay. He was the reason I turned up. Just like games where he was just doing something magical out of nowhere was the reason we kept turning up. Like just half the reason. So for me, and the amount of goals he got in that awful spell, we're still sort of building this new team. But this team
he's just so clever. I think he's just so clever at finding the little angles.
You could also argue
that's the sort of thing that people can't do, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. And you could also like Little and even 11 are possibly better players than last season. Martin is also huge different because it's meant that Moxie can go across to centre back, and we've got Martin. So we've got 2 brilliant either left backs or left wing backs. So this is a team that Johnson would have, as you said, had in mind at the start of last season, which is going to be it's going to be a bit better. Also, we don't have the depth.
I think as well, he's ended up with, this team, again, let's live in a fantasy world just for a minute, whereby this current team, regardless of what happens at the end of this season, this is a core of a team. This 10, 11 players here.
But it's not out of the window. If everything.
It's not. But it's not as it's less likely that we'll get in the playoffs. But if you could keep all of this core of players now and add some National League quality to it, not some kind of punt because there's no one else, which is fundamentally what we did last year.
That's what the best teams do, isn't it? That's what Stockport did over the summer. They kept all their team and just added a few more and just added, and that's what wins you a title, isn't it?
Stockport have been able to add players when they've needed.
I mean, you look at the Stockport squad. They were playing a reserve team fixture the other day, and they had players in that who would walk into most teams in the division.
I saw that. Yeah.
And I think you could argue as well that look, Johnson's one of the best managers in the lower leagues. And you could argue in the nice part of the country, it's not all black and white. You might say, look, lads, another year. You of course you can go football leagues now. Some of you are basically almost club legends here, or very sort of favoured personnel, if you can categorise it by Football Manager, which I always do. And, here's another year. Give me another chance. I'll get a couple of players in. Let's strike from Stevenage. There might be one there. I may let it go one day. I'll get a few more depth in. You can see what we've done this season. You could have, hopefully Stockport will go up. If we don't, Wrexham, I hope will go up in the playoffs. That's them out of the division. The team's coming down looking awful states, just as a club and as a team. So, what you could just play and prove yourself again down here, I think.
The key is Gary Johnson, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can talk about the players till we're blue in the face, can't we? But because he was in charge on Saturday and a much better manager than the other team, we won easily. Didn't we? If we'd have had Birch as our manager and they'd have had Johnson, it would have been a completely different story.
Of course, the grass isn't always greener, especially when you've got Gary Johnson on the current grass you're on. So,
he'll have another year, Gary, won't he?
Hey, of course he will. Why would he quit now? What else is it to do in life? So
I get the impression he's not going to stop until we get in the league.
No, until we get to the Football League and he has a statue bit outside. I will fund it.
I just hope he's not 100 by then. I think getting a letter from the Queen or King.
Yeah.
Olaf will still be out on loan.
Either.
Olaf will still be out on loan.
Yeah, be 45 by then.
But yeah, going
it's a strong 10, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a few minutes left. We've got a few minutes left before Zoom kicks us out. Woking, because we haven't paid for the full version yet. Why would you? But Woking away. Any thoughts? Because they've obviously got what's his name? The Yeovil manager.
Aaron Sal.
Yeah, they've got him now.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realise until I kind of looked it up a couple of days ago. They've been on a decent run before they lost on Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, my cousin's a Halifax fan, and he said they looked pretty ordinary. It was the usual. I mean, they got into the referee, they got a penalty, they got one of the Halifax blokes sent off, and it's that kind of which we saw a little bit with Yeovil earlier in the season. But to be honest, this sounds a bit cliche, but I don't think we need to worry hugely about the opponents that much. We've just got to keep going, keep winning, keep playing how we're playing. Yeah. Gary will have us ready. He'll know what we've got to do.
Keep playing with that intensity. If we keep,
he did the double over Sarrell this season already. So
yeah, and let's face it, Woking and Eastleigh are two games that, as I said last week, Notts County was a game we had to win. We've done it, and these are two now. So they're two sides in the bottom third. Sides that if we're going to have any chance of getting a plus, we have to beat them. We've got to win these games.
Away games are key now because we've played well at home, but how many away games have we really performed this season? Now, can we do the same away from home? I think we possibly can, but it's just a different atmosphere. The ground get on you. You get some decisions go against you from the refs.
I would talk one thing. I thought one thing that's happened. It's kind of Torquay related. So Sinclair Armstrong, as we know, has sadly gone to Aldershot. A couple of things about that. Obviously, the first thing is Dammy's not playing for us. I know we've got Danny White and all that. Secondly, I don't think we should worry so much because if you think about Aldershot, it's local. He can still train at Queen's Park Rangers. He's just come back from a knee injury. Yeah. Also, I know Aldershot are dreadful and the players put in no effort when we saw them. They play a lot of playoff teams.
Well, I thought they only play Daggers, don't they? Do they play?
I saw something. I think
they Notts County as well. I think
they play a few. I think they might play Solihull as well. I saw someone put it in a chat earlier, so
I don't think we're going to catch Solihull. I mean, I'm all for being optimistic, but they must be 12 points above us. In
the bag.
But again, he's the sort of player, isn't he? That if you think about what he did at Yeovil when he came on at Yeovil, and they're at Yeovil this weekend, aren't they? Yeah. Things like that. Oh, look at that celebrity appearance from a cat this week, didn't they?
McDonald's cat-like reflexes again.
Oh, there he is. That's why he's in the top three. Cat-like reflexes. Go say hi, cat. Is there? No, he's looking there. He's looking.
we do owe Woking one. And then didn't half give us a beating in August.
Yeah, 1 point from 3 games. It was in August.
That was our worst performance under Gary
ever.
Johnson.
I think it's the worst thing I've ever seen. Remember, if you think going back to them, 1 point from 3 games, couldn't string 2 passes, as you say, man against boys. We've just beat Notts County 5-1. We've beat Stockport, we beat Wrexham. Even it's still very similar with playoffs. It's still been, I'd say, a decent season. I've still enjoyed a lot part of this season. Since the Weymouth game, it's been just like Gary Johnson of the Gary Johnson's of old. It's been pretty good.
I'd love to know what the league table would look like with 6 more points on it come Monday evening.
Yeah.
I think we're still playing like we're just hoping at the moment. Like we're not playing with any pressure. I think we're really just pushing. We're going for it. So I think we can. Definitely 6 points to come. And at the weekend, I hope nothing set in stone, is it?
I'd also say one last thing at the weekend. I thought credit to the club as well because I mean they've done. Gary did a lot getting Gary out to wind the club up. They wound people up in the programme. I thought the supporters, the whole club, the whole vibe around the club was really good.
The
and Johnson getting the Bristow's bench bouncing as well. Yeah,
he was riding us right up in Bristow. So it was brilliant to watch.
It was a really good. And he said after the game, didn't he? He was proud of the way of the whole club. The way the fans had bought into it and everything. I thought it was a good atmosphere.
I loved it.
You didn't really hear their fans at all. It was a really good.
I was really surprised by that. Yeah.
Really good work from the whole club.
Yeah. But, so beat Woking, hopefully beat Eastleigh to come after that on Monday.
And then we'll do Gull'S Eye View next week. And then if we haven't beat that, we'll say how the season's over.
And I say 6 more points, what does that league table look like? Then you go 6 more points, and then you go into a game at Grimsby that would then be seriously big, wouldn't it? But let's
Grimsby
get 6 points and we'll worry about it.
Yeah,
My
I think
stomach
Grimsby and Daggers will
went a bit
dictate
when
our
you said
season. I think those 2 games will dictate our season, won't they? I think they're the real sort of.
Well, I said in the talk chat quickly before it boots us out that when it went 2-1, well, this next 20 minutes will decide our season. So we have now got promoted. So well done.
Okay. But just like the Notts County game, it's going to be the games against the sides around us. Maybe you should probably bring Chesterfield into that. Probably that's going to decide. You know, because if you lose those games or don't win those games, you don't gain anything, do you?
No.
So I think they're going to be key.
But yes,
the fact we're still talking about the playoffs is
mental. It's mental. Yeah, we said I'll just take it to the last 3 games, and we're about 5 games, and we're about 2 games from doing that. So well done, everyone. So cheers for joining me, you two, and
cheers, guys.
Thanks for watching wherever you are in the world.
Enjoy the trip to Woking,
Australia, wherever you are. Enjoy the trip to Woking. Have a safe one, and we'll see you in a bit.